I mean, we started with finishes, and then over the course of the half, we just warmed down a little bit, started getting them out of position defensively, trying to finish through their bodies and get into the line. Obviously, we scored 59 points in the second half. We were much more effective that way.
The Gators will take on JU on Thursday night at home. Tip off at 8 o'clock. Hear the game live on 10:10 a.m. It's 84 degrees at 12 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, get ready to spend the next 2 hours with our three sports-loving ladies. Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dahl.
Hey.
This is Helmets and Heels
On 1010XL, switched on by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
Show me what you got, pretty lady.
Welcome into a Tuesday edition of the show. Epic Cool Heating and Air now brings us our Tuesdays. You can find them online at epicHVACservice.com or call 904-859-EPIC. It's going to be an epic Tuesday because we're going to talk all things sports. Of course, we'll start with some college basketball from last night as the Florida Gators defeated the South Florida Bulls. It was so much fun to see this team in person as far as the Florida Gators are concerned because of the length of some of these guys and the speed in which they play. I have been a terrible Florida men's basketball fan. I have not been down to Exact Tech Arena, which is embarrassing to admit, but it's true. And so when they come to your hometown, you got to go, and it was a lot of fun.
And I tweeted it out, Lauren. For me, it's so wild to wrap my head around because part of this coincided with the COVID-19 pandemic. Some of it coincided with me leaving local television to come over here to 1010XL full time. I have not actually attended and covered a Florida men's basketball game since the Saturday before the world shut down in 2020. That was, of course, the regular season finale for the Gators, then led, of course, by the likes of Andrew Nemhard and Mike White and Drew Lock. The names go on and on. But what's so funny is just the vibe and how this team carries itself. Obviously, it's been 4 or 5 seasons. The culture has certainly changed, let alone the head coach. But at one point, when the Gators went on a run in the second half, it was around the 12-minute mark. And I'm not sure if you caught this.
Oh, yeah.
Because for Gator fans, this is common practice and commonplace now. When Todd Golden struts onto the floor, there was a loose ball. They hadn't even blown the play dead and blown the whistle. And Todd Golden knows that it's Gators ball. And the head coach runs onto the floor and starts pumping the crowd up and just starts screaming like a madman.
The best part to me was when Thomas Houck went after the loose ball.
It was right. That was right before this.
And so Todd Golden, then Taylor, literally starts kind of hitting Thomas because he was so proud of the effort that he gave. Yeah. And I think that's one thing when you talk about the program being so different from when Mike White was the head coach is this guy infuses energy. Mm-hmm. And Mike White is a defensive-minded coach, and Florida Gators fans, whether it's Steve Spurrier or Billy Donovan, they hate defensive-minded coaches. They want fun and gun. They want three-point shooting.
They want the offense.
They absolutely want the offense. And so Todd Golden is this young guy, this super inspired basketball mind, and he's very offensive forward, hence the 98 points that they scored when they were only 5 of 25 from 3.
Yeah, and I didn't watch any of this game, I'll be honest, but I was seeing all of the live tweets from it, and even from last year, several names, we were talking about it yesterday of the return guys, and so several names just from last year I was remembering, obviously like a Will Richard, we were talking about Alex Condon yesterday. And so even that, when you're not in that world and you're hearing these names and they're already like, oh yeah, like
there's familiarity and continuity,
which is it's fun for like the casual college basketball watcher to know that there's guys on this roster that now you're seeing who maybe they didn't play as big of a part last year are already impacting this offense in a major way. And both of those guys, Will Richard, and then the other guy, Elijah Martin.
Yes, he's a transfer from FAU, and then Walter Clayton is back from last
I was
season.
seeing a lot of people tweet about him right away, and this is outside of the Gator world talking about him.
Yeah, to me, Mia, Sam Alexis was a guy that I had heard about, but I hadn't seen him play, obviously, yet. And so I was excited to see what he brought to the team as well.
Yeah, especially because I'm not sure Ruben, who's their starting center, is going to give you a whole lot in the offensive department. but I think that they're still trying to find their footing in the front court without Micah Handlogton, who by all accounts is probably going to medical redshirt this year. Although
it was great to see him
and
last
he
night.
has
He looked
nothing,
great.
nothing on his legs. He has no brace, no anything. And
He's
obviously,
the biggest cheerleader for the team right now.
look, I know we are 7 months since that horrific knee injury in the SEC tournament, but I mean the fact that he's walking around, he's not running full speed. He had a polo on, but he's bouncing around during pregame warmups. I'm genuinely curious, Lauren. Like, I'm here for him medical redshirting,
Sure.
But if this team does what so many people believe they can do this year, I don't know. If you're him, can you really sit on the sidelines and not be a part of this? And again, this is one game in. It's a one-game sample size. We got a long way to go. But right now, for me, that's the biggest question mark, because I think what Walter Clayton Jr. and Will Richard proved, and again, it's a one-game sample size, they are two of the rare talents in college basketball. When you need them to go get a bucket in the Power 4 level of play, they will go get you a bucket. And I know they were playing against a group of 5 school, but by the way, that's a group of 5 school that's got a ton of transfers from all over the place. They have length to match Florida. They led at halftime, did Taylor Dahl's alma mater, the USF Bulls. But at the same time, they have Walter Clayton Jr. and the Florida Gators have Walter Clayton Jr. and Will Richard, so they can go get a bucket. They can get you that bucket in crunch time. That's why Florida won the game, largely thanks to the 29 points from Walter Clayton Jr., 25 from Will Richard. But I still have questions about that front court. Sans Micah Handlogton. I liked Sam Alexis. I think he's going to be a factor. Thomas Haugh, I'm not really sure how much offensive. Haug, excuse me. I'm not really sure how much offensive
It's
production.
okay. Jack O'Brien, who was the PA announcer, kept saying Thomas Haugh, and I'm like, it's Haug. I kept
I know.
yelling, Jack, it's Haug. He couldn't hear me.
My question is, outside of Alex Condon, I'm not really sure what offensive production you are going to get in the front court, let alone rim protection. And certainly defense is something that, and I know, Chris Harry wrote about this in his pregame write-up. That is something that has haunted Todd Golden as he's prepared for this season. He goes back to the loss to Auburn in the SEC tournament. He goes back to that one game in the NCAA tournament, and defense has been a focal point for them this offseason. Mm-hmm. And I am worried about defense going up against bigger forwards who can not only contribute on the defensive end of the floor and be rim protectors, but they also can be those guys who can get you a bucket when you need. Loved the nice smooth, the nice hook, though, from Sam Alexis. I thought, shades of Kareem right there. I was like, okay, we like that. We'd like to have Kareem in our own backyard. That would be nice.
I think the Bulls were playing so incredibly hard for their late coach, and that's what you saw in the first half. Mm-hmm. And then in the second half, Todd Golden and his staff figured out that as long as they drove to the rim, they were probably going to get, if not a bucket, at least a foul. And so they just were able to wear down South Florida, and give credit to Todd Golden and his staff again for recognizing that. But at the end of the day, this is a team that they have to be better from 3. I mean, they have to be better from the arc if they're going to do anything this season, because yes, you're going to go up against teams that have bigger guys in the paint. South Florida really only has one big guy. And so, we'll see if they can figure out that front court situation. But I'm telling you, for someone who hasn't seen Florida men's basketball in person in a while, it was so much fun. They jump so high, they run so fast. You can't get that on television. I'm telling you.
536 on the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures, which of course you Heeligans can join in on the conversation by hitting us up 641-1010. Is a little upset with us. We've gone 7 minutes into the program, ladies, and certainly we wanted to lead with the Florida Gators because they played here in the city of Jacksonville yesterday.
They want us to go to Columbia, South Carolina?
They do, because one of Jacksonville's 2 teams, since both of them were victorious last night, one of them earned their first ever win over an SEC program, that, of course, being Matthew Driscoll's Ospreys.
Yeah, I'm super pumped for them, 74-71, and that's a team in South Carolina. We talked a little bit about it yesterday. Their men's basketball program is on the rise, and so for what Coach Driscoll did, led by Jalen Smith with 16 points, is impressive, and also JU beat Trinity Baptist 78-65. Stephon Payne had 18 points, and by the way, 13 rebounds as well. Wow. So certainly we're going to mention them. Taylor, I have a feeling you weren't watching college basketball because you were watching the NFL game.
Yes.
Were you screaming your head off at Todd Bowles for kicking the extra point?
Yes. And it's funny because how many times this year have we talked about like the situational moments of going for it and kicking the extra point, or going for field goals instead. And so, I think in those moments, because we almost have this like PTSD from it now, you do scream in those moments. I think that you've got to give some credit to Baker Mayfield because, I mean, he lost just everything that has happened to this offense and obviously an injury-wise, and then him just being able to keep going. And, like, this was a guy that was booted out of several teams over years. I saw a picture over the weekend at Florida, at it was this last Saturday. I don't know if it was at Florida, Georgia, or if it was at one of the college football games. But
Ohio State, Penn State, maybe.
Maybe. And they had 4 different Baker Mayfield, like, college football jerseys on. So it is, like, it's hard not to cheer for him in those moments just because he's just had, number one, this resurgence. But even when things aren't going bad, he's still keeping himself in the game against the Kansas City Chiefs, which is really hard to do.
Yeah, they should have lost, so we should be talking about, finally, they
Chiefs.
met
They
their
find
match.
ways constantly.
Did you guys see the screen image of just the image of Baker Mayfield when they lost the coin toss going into overtime?
I did not, but it doesn't surprise me.
Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times tweeted it out, and he said it like you could tell in that moment that Baker Mayfield knew. And that was, of course, on the heels of an overtime loss to the Atlanta Falcons a couple weeks ago, where they also never got a chance to have the ball in overtime. I know we've addressed the overtime rules in the National Football League.
Regular season versus playoffs. They've fixed the playoffs.
Right.
They haven't fixed regular season.
Correct. But it's just...
The other team should not have a chance.
Correct. Yeah. It's unfair. We all know that.
Yeah.
And it's especially unfair when it's the freaking Chiefs with
Like,
Andy
of
Reid
course.
and Patrick Mahomes. And how many times have they been in a situation like that where their backs are against the wall? We saw it against the Bills in a playoff game. They had 13 seconds. Of course, they did what they need to do. And yes, that's the exact opposite of the team here.
And yes, 472, we wouldn't complete our basketball roundup. Sorry, we already had segued to Monday Night Football in the National Football League. We forgot to mention Charge On. I know a couple of you tweeted at me. You wanted me to say Charge On for our Knights. UCF defeating the 13th ranked Texas A&M Aggies down in the Big O. And so I think it's fair to say, while this program is called Helmets and Heels, the state of Florida, if for one night only, folks, is a basketball state. I know the Magic lost, but we are a college basketball state. Print the shirts for one night only. Florida State, Miami, I see you too. I know our women's program is maybe not as successful.
Florida State women's program.
Oh yeah,
was
Florida
successful.
State's 21st in the country, and they've got a couple of ballers out there in Tallahassee, and so we're excited to see from them. And of course, our friend Jasmine Roberts of Bishop Kenny and the Cavender twins, who I guess we're going to claim since Carson Beck dates one of them, down there in Coral Gables as well, picking up a dub. So
Miami won too.
Yeah,
in men's basketball.
Yeah, and men's basketball over Fairleigh Ridiculous. I mean Fairleigh Dickinson. So yeah, no, we are a college basketball state. This is a college basketball program as much as it is a football and all sports program.
Taylor's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. All right, Cam Robinson comes back to Jacksonville this Sunday, but I'm a little bit more concerned about a guy named Justin Jefferson. We'll talk some NFL when we return. You are listening to Helmets and Heels, and it is an epic, cool Heating and Air Tuesday on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
In every game, there's a limited number of drives.
Our best, here we go.
And there's only one drive of the game.
That's a good old-fashioned rear end whipping.
Listen for the Randy Marion Cadillac of Jacksonville drive of the game on 1010XL.
Mia here, and when I was buying a new construction home last summer, there was no question, folks. Dreamfinders Homes was the builder for me. A big reason why? Their unbeatable interest rates. Right now, you can take advantage of a 2.99% year one rate. Hold up, let me say that again. 2.99% year one rate. Wow, folks, I searched up and down the Eastern Seaboard. That rate is basically unheard of. Find your dream home, take advantage of unbeatable rates, and move in today. Dreamfinders Homes, the official home builder of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Joe C. for Hard Rock Bet, and we're into the second half of football season. You've seen how teams are shaping up. If you haven't already, it's a perfect time to try your first bet at Hard Rock Bet. Perfect example. Earlier this season, a Florida bettor went 16 for 16 picking winners, turned a $15 bet into more than $100,000. Try Hard Rock Bet now and get up to $100 back in bonus bets if your first doesn't win. Offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Must be 21 plus and physically present in Florida to wager. Terms and conditions apply. Concerned about gambling? Call 1-888-ADMIT-IT.
Hey guys, Taylor Dahl here of Helmets and Heels. Chick-fil-A is introducing the new banana pudding milkshake that's here for a limited time to enjoy. The seasonal treat features a Chick-fil-A ice cream dessert mixed with bananas and vanilla wafer cookie crumbles. It's a perfect sweet spin on a classic shake. The banana pudding milkshake is here for a limited time, so stop by your local Chick-fil-A restaurant and treat yourself today.
Movember is Cancer Awareness Month, so educate yourself on the risk factors for prostate and other cancers. Take charge of your health. Many cancers are highly preventable. Trust the physicians at Ackerman Cancer Center. AckermanCancerCenter.com.
Mia here. When it comes to roofing, whether it be shingles, metal, or most repairs, there is one name that has protected your home since 1999. Pro Jags Roofing. Serving all of Northeast Florida, Mike and his guys have been repairing and replacing roofs for 25 years. Need insurance help? Mike's team can help. Raised in a military family, Mike provides great attention to detail with unparalleled quality and workmanship. They also have warranties, so you can have peace of mind. Call Mike today for a free estimate or online at projacksroofingfl.com.
Rotator cuff injuries are common among athletes and those who have physically demanding careers. Don't let this injury keep you away from the sport you love. Dr. George Barry here, and the first thing you need to do with a serious shoulder injury is to diagnose where the damage is and how significant it is. Rotator cuff tears are either acute tears sustained during an injury or accident, or degenerative tears. If you're interested in learning more about rotator cuff repair and how our expert team of orthopedic surgeons can help you, call Barry Orthopedics today or visit barryorthopedics.com.
Septic emergencies stink. Get your ducks in a row, and that's where we come in. We are Duck Duck Rooter, the #1 septic company in the region.
When you're stuck, call the duck. DuckDuckRooter.com.
Start your Sunday off with a cup of Joe and some sports medicine intel. This is Joe C. inviting you to join me and Dr. George Barry for Breaking Bones every Sunday morning at 7:30. And if you miss an episode, just look for Breaking Bones wherever you listen to podcasts.
This is Walker Little of your Jacksonville Jaguars for Kingfish Pest Control. I've been a Kingfish customer for a while now and can confirm that their service is incredible. Not only do they protect my family from pests, Kingfish's office staff is the friendliest around. They even email me a photo of the tech before arriving at my home. Kingfish Pest Control is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Be sure to enter their Swat That Kick sweepstakes for free pest control for 3 years. Go to kingfishpest.com and tell them Walker Little sent you.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation, light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.
The housing market is as busy as ever on the First Coast, and if you've moved in or moved on, make sure you have a team of trained electricians ready to help. American Electrical can make sure you're up to date electrically and maximize your living experience. Smart home automation services, home theater systems, outdoor and dock lighting, and backup generators. American Electrical can do it all. A team you can trust with highly trained technicians, ensuring you have the best living experience. American-Electrical.com, a leader on the First Coast and powered by professionalism.
There's no way to prepare for the impact an accident makes on your life. That's why we've spent 40 years getting ready for that moment when you need compassion and immediate action. The right doctors, investigators, our team of experienced attorneys, and your free consultation is already in place. So if you've been hurt, remember, the Farah Safety Net is right here to catch you. All you have to do is call Farah & Farah. It's what we built. Jacksonville.
Jacksonville's building a fence along the goal line. This is the Superior Fence and Rail Defensive Player of the Game. Superior Fence and Rail, where quality matters.
Trayvon Walker flexed on the Eagles in a massive way over the weekend. The teal and black defensive end recorded 7 tackles, with 6 being solo, and he would pitch in a fumble recovery in what was a bright spot for Jacksonville. Walker's superior play was just what the doctor ordered, and he's your Superior Fence and Rail's defensive player of the game.
If you're tired of your fence looking like a bad hair day, well, it's time for a fence makeover with Superior Fence and Rail. They'll make your yard the talk of the town with a new fence installed by their expert team.
Your fence is fantastic. My fence is giving all of my neighbors some serious pick and envy. Thanks, Superior Fence and Rail.
So get off the fence and call Superior Fence and Rail for your fence installation project today.
SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This is Helmets and Heels.
Kept classy by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
On 1010XL.
Mia O'Brien, Taylor Dahl, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you on this epic Cool Heating and Air Tuesday. You can mention 1010XL for exclusive discounts at Epic, and also there are discounts for military, police, and first responders. Jamming out to a little Thomas Rhett, I believe. All right, so Cam Robinson comes to Jacksonville this Sunday. Obviously just left Jacksonville not that long ago. Plays for the Vikings. It'll be fun/interesting to see him go up against the likes of Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker, considering they have battled each other in the trenches as far as training camp and practices for a few years now. But more importantly, ladies, it's Justin Jefferson that scares me.
Yeah, if we're going to talk about Walter Clayton Jr. being a guy who can just go get you a bucket, this is perhaps one of 3 dudes in the National Football League who, if you need to go get a touchdown, if you need to go create a 2-minute offense out of nowhere and manufacture it out of one single player, this is the guy.
Yeah, he's incredible. And it's just, and I don't want to, Sam Darnold's played well, but there's a reason, because Justin Jefferson can catch everything. There's certain catches where he's making one-handed catches behind the back on the sideline with the defender in his face. You watch him play, and it's just that's not normal. You shouldn't be able to do, those are the rare catches that you see every now and then where you're like, wow, that was incredible. And he does that on a weekly basis, where it just looks like it's fake almost. No way he's going to come down with this ball, and then he does. And that's just something he does consistently. And then also Jordan Addison. And so there's not any way that you can really be well, let's just put all our focus on Justin Jefferson, because Jordan Addison's really good too. And so you go through this back and forth with the Vikings, and that's what's so hard about them. The one weakness, and I've talked about it a lot this year, is their run game. They just don't have the most powerful, consistent run game. And so if you can find any flaws or weaknesses, it's that. But then if you try and shut that down and be okay, well, if they can't run the ball, you don't want to force them to get the ball to Justin Jefferson. So it is kind of a weird back and forth with the Vikings. But yeah, he's so good. I mean, already he has 783 yards already this season with 5 touchdowns. And the next closest is Jamar Chase, who is probably the other name you'd put in that category of a similar wide receiver to Justin Jefferson, and he has 717 with 7 touchdowns. So it's just, when you look at 2 guys like that, they're different level wide receiver, and you don't see them often.
And they played for the same team.
Yeah,
they were on the same team once upon a time. And I think again, speaking of small sample sizes, we do just have somewhere between 7 to 9 weeks so far on tape in the National Football League of Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. But
remember when that was everyone's excuse of why they didn't like BTJ? But they paid attention to Malik Neighbors, and they had 2 receivers on that team, and that's why he was
Why
good.
did Justin Jefferson fall to the 20s in the first round of the 2020 NFL Draft? Well, was it really him, or was it that freshman kid Jamar Chase was so good,
And Joe Burrow's so good.
Joe Burrow's so good. Well,
Jaden Daniels is also so good.
Right. Last I checked, they're both 2 top 10 quarterbacks, and Daniels is a rookie. So, yeah.
Some people right now, I bet, this is a whole different conversation, but would take Jaden Daniels over Joe Burrow, because you've got the dual threat ability, and he, so far, it's a very early into his career, but we also talked about CJ Stroud as being the best rookie we've ever seen, and there's no chance he could have a sophomore slump, and he's having a sophomore slump, so we'll see with Jaden Daniels. But as far as the Jags and the Vikings go, it feels like it's going to be another one of those games where the Jags take on an NFC opponent that has a winning record, and the Vikings go up at least 10-0, if not more. The Jags somehow, some way claw back, score a lot of points in the third quarter, and then once again fall flat in the fourth quarter. That if I'm predicting it now, that's how it already feels like it's going to go.
Ultimately, this one is... It's going to come down to pass coverage, which is a very scary, very scary proposition. I will say
more Buster Brown than Ronald Darby, maybe.
Maybe you see some Trey Prince thrown in there. Maybe question mark. You're going to see a rotation, is my guess, because that's what we've seen through 9 weeks of the NFL season for your Jacksonville Jaguars.
You're not going to get help Mia from Tashawn Gibson, that's for sure.
No, Tashawn Gibson was released yesterday off the commissioner's exempt list. I know there was some confusion as to what does that mean. Does that mean now he's eligible to play? No, it means
that's what I thought it meant when I first read it.
No, it means that he never actually, they never were able to clear that final threshold to reinstate him, which would have to have been by 4 o'clock yesterday. And at that juncture, I mean, for both the player and the team, it doesn't look like there's a path back to reinstatement, at least this year. And so ultimately, that's where the Jaguars just said, you know what? Adios, amigo. Thank you for coming to all the meetings and drinking coffee in the back.
Dumb from the beginning.
Not entirely.
I thought it was dumb from the beginning.
Well,
I don't think he was going to add much anyways.
In light of the play of the safeties the last few weeks, and
he wasn't ever going to play
for...
until at least week 6, and that was maybe.
Right.
And so, no, week 7, because he had 6-game suspension. So maybe week 7. And even then, it was like, okay, then you're not practicing with this team the whole entire time. I didn't think that the safeties would be as much of a disaster. And so, honestly, it's probably even worse of a move than it looked like it was preseason. I already thought it was bad.
Because what? Because you're saying that they knew that they had question marks at safety?
No, because I don't think you were going to have him until mid-season, and I thought that you could have gotten a safety that could actually maybe have helped your team before you got almost halfway through the football season.
Terrell Edmonds was once upon a time, I feel like, a guy that would have fit that bill. But the interesting part for the Jaguars is, where does the secondary go from here? And we've seen them take some snaps away from Antonio Gibson. We've seen
Antonio Johnson.
Thank you. Yeah. I have Tashawn Gibson stuck in my head, clearly. We've seen them take snaps away from him, and I can understand that because he didn't play well to begin the season. But how well is Andre Sisco playing at this juncture either? And again, where does it go from here? That's what is this secondary going to look like in 2025? As we sit here right now, I have absolutely no idea.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be something that they're going to, as a whole, have to now look into, because I think that corner-wise, obviously, you just gave Tyson Campbell a contract. I think that you've seen moments of Jarian Jones that you like, so you at least have some positives to take out of that. And so I do think in that realm, there are some good things that you could look at. But even that, Darby's obviously, that hasn't worked out. I don't know if people would say Darnell Savage has really worked out either. I almost said Gibson too. Antonio Johnson, obviously that definitely hasn't worked out. Cisco, we keep waiting for that breakout year. That it doesn't look like it's happening. So it looks like you almost have to fully revamp your secondary, which is scary.
Not something we thought. Not something we thought.
But that before Sunday.
Right. And exactly. Going up against that receiving core, which I would also like to note that not only is Cam Robinson returning to the scene of the crime in Jacksonville, Josh Oliver returning to.
He wasn't here nearly as long as Cam.
No, not nearly as long. But like I said yesterday, my mom even knew the name. She texted me midway through Sunday Night Football and was like, didn't Josh Oliver play for the Jags? And I was like, yep, he was in Gardner's draft class. And Urban sold him for a bag of peanuts to the Baltimore Ravens, and then he got a bag from the Minnesota Vikings. And look, ultimately, during his short tenure with the Ravens as well, I think Josh Oliver was regarded as more of a blocking tight end. He did return here as a member of the Ravens in 2022. He did catch a pass or two, including one very long completion down the sideline that I remember. But at the same time, he was always regarded as more of a blocking tight end. It was a bit of a surprise when the Minnesota Vikings gave him the money that they did last offseason. But in Kevin O'Connell's offense, they have found a role for him, and that's even with TJ Hawkinson returning last week.
Yeah, which that doesn't help at all with what we have to worry about this weekend.
Yeah, you're already concerned about Justin Jefferson, and then tight ends typically have good days against the Jags, so we shall see a couple things around the NFL. Zadarius Smith woke up a very happy man as the Browns traded him to the Lions, who, of course, had lost Aiden Hutchinson. Aiden Hutchinson still, by the way, right now, even though he was lost a few weeks ago to the injury, still one of the best as far as sacks in this season so far with 7.5 sacks. Right now, Trayvon Walker has the same amount of sacks as TJ Watt, just in case you're wondering. Also, the Bears traded running back Khalil Herbert. That was no surprise to you, Taylor, to the Bengals for a 7th-round draft pick. And this one was surprising. The Cowboys acquired Jonathan Mingo, the wide receiver, for a 4th-round pick from the Panthers, and Dak Prescott's going on IR most likely.
For those of you wondering, and look, I love Jonathan Mingo coming out of Ole Miss. Was he worthy of being a 2nd-round pick? We can debate that another time. Ultimately, though, for me,
just said no.
A guy who has 12 catches for 121 yards this year, 55 for 539 in the last 2 years, and 0 career touchdowns. Not really sure that's worth the 4th rounder, Jerry.
Does he have some relation to Cooper Rush, who will be starting soon?
Yeah, and I think some people would point to just the disaster that the Panthers' offense is in general. But still, like, I feel like Jonathan Mingo's definitely been one of those guys. When I did my preview with the Panthers before the Bears played the Panthers, they were talking about how bad he is at actually catching, like how many drop issues he's had this season, and that's kind of what people are focusing on. So it is interesting. Like, you lose your starting quarterback. Your starting quarterback's going on IR, and you send a fourth for a wide receiver for the backup. I don't know. I was like, whatever. I doubt that's Jerry being Jerry. I guess.
That's desperate. That's what you call desperate. And searching for answers and trying to provide a lame duck head coach and Mike McCarthy something. I do think in our library of sound effects here on Helmets and Heels, RJ, I think we need to add. No, don't worry. Don't panic. This is not urgent. This is me workshopping on live radio. There is a character. There is a certain voice that, for those of you unfamiliar, Taylor Dahl and I send to each other at least once a week. Yes. And I think he needs to be introduced as a character on Helmets and Heels. And that, my friends, is former South Carolina turned Carolina Panther receiver Xavier Legette. And his progression in his 7-8 weeks as being an NFL receiver is a large reason why the Panthers, still in rebuilding mode, have felt confident enough to say, you know what, we haven't gotten a single touchdown out of Jonathan Mingo the last 2 years. To their credit, they didn't see enough last year. At the very least, Dave Canales wanted to bring in his own guy. They draft Legette. Yeah. They trade back into the first round. They get him with the 32nd overall pick. They've been rewarded so far. He's not Malik Neighbors. He's not Brian Thomas Jr., but he has the best voice in the world.
He's so funny.
In all of sports, in all of everything.
The Panthers must have laughed aloud when the Cowboys said, we'll give you a fourth for Mingo.
They're
like,
like,
a fourth?
Free money. Like, usually we're the ones getting fleeced.
Right.
This
makes up for the Deontay Johnson trade. You're like, oh, good, okay, karma. It came back around. They also really like Jalen Coker, the rookie undrafted wide receiver out of Holy Cross, who I know for many of us.
A lot of people are really high on
Coker. A lot of people in the draft community. He was at the Shrine Bowl. He was a guy who so many thought would be a late-round draft pick. He ultimately went undrafted. The Panthers were able to claim his services. Certainly, I think that's a situation akin to one James Robinson, where you look around and you say, that's what your wide receiver room looks like? Yeah, I can compete there. I can make a 53-man roster spot. And while he didn't make the opening day roster, he was elevated week 2, and he has certainly carved out a role for himself. Caught a pass that I think it wasn't a touchdown. They called him out at the 5-yard line this past weekend. But, hey, that's closer to the end zone than Jonathan Mingo's gotten in 2 years.
Yeah, and Legette already has 4 touchdowns. So it's fun to see even that progression, 244 for 4 touchdowns on that offense. I think you would take at this moment, to be honest.
I feel like Legette's voice works really well for social media because they can put the subtitles up.
Yeah, because if not, it's hard.
For radio, if people are going to be like, what is this person saying?
The one last week where he said asparagus, and the way
sounded
he
like
says
it, Spears. Just a Spears.
I was like,
oh, he's saying a Spears, like because asparagus it looks like Spears.
Yeah, I'm trying the
but
Spears
he wasn't.
now. Nope, he was saying asparagus. And he has a pony. Yep, that is named Dollar Bill, and so now like his end zone when he got the touchdown this last week, he was doing his little like pony ride, and I was like, I love him.
Then the one that Taylor sent me last week, Legette goes to the Children's Hospital as part of the Panthers Tuesday, looking out and visiting local nonprofits. He goes to the Children's Hospital for Halloween dressed as Woody, and he goes, you got horse? I got 14 horses, and then he goes, I forgot my boots. I'm wearing my slides.
I know that those kids are like, we have no idea what you're saying.
Kids, folks, adults, you need to just Google Xavier Legette and trust me.
You can't go as Woody and forget the boots.
He had slides on.
The Jags don't even play the Panthers this year, and we may need to call upon our good friend Cassidy Hill solely so we can just ask her questions about Xavier Legette. That's really what we're here for.
All right, our NFL midseason awards are next. We will pick our most surprising teams, our most disappointing teams, offensive MVP, and defensive MVP. You are listening to Helmets and Heels. It's an epic Cool Heating and Air Tuesday. Find them online at epichvacservice.com. It's 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Monday, November 11th is Veterans Day, and we'll be honoring those who have served our nation all day and night at String Sports Brewery in Springfield with a free barbecue sandwich, side, and a beer. That's for all veterans and active duty military members anytime on Veterans Day. Plus, our show will be there live from 4 to 6, thanks to our friends at Firewatch, which was created to address veteran suicide prevention, and the Cohen Clinic at Centerstone that offers outpatient mental health for active duty, post 9/11 veterans and military families. So come to Strings on Veterans Day.
Mia here for MyBookie. Our listeners have been killing it in a year full of surprises. MyBookie is the one book that has your back. No fluff, no second guessing, just straight up action action. Does your other sports book pay out when you push on a bet? MyBookie pays you back. And if you're new to the game and not sure where to start, we have you covered. Step 1, use our promo code 1010XL. That'll double your bankroll with a 100% deposit bonus right from the jump. Here's a pro tip to get you rolling. The NFL teams with powerhouse offensive lines are dominating the run game this year, and betting game total unders has been printing money. Stack that with MyBookie's risk-free Thursdays. Yup, you heard me right. New risk-free odds boosts each and every Thursday. To find the bet, click the Bet Boost tab and scroll down. If it hits, you win. If it doesn't, MyBookie refunds your money. Sign up now with promo code 1010XL and get your double deposit bonus. The best sign-up bonus for Florida bettors. Bet anything, anytime, from anywhere with MyBookie.
Hacker here, and let me tell you, this is the stuff I never thought I'd say. I now weigh 209 pounds thanks to Awaken 180. To put that in perspective, I'm down from a triple XL to a large. My waist has dropped 10 inches from a 48 to a 38. I honestly never thought I'd get to this point. And one of the best parts now is that I get to be so active and play every afternoon with my 5-year-old little hack. Now, none of this would have been possible without Awaken 180 weight loss. They don't just help you lose weight, they make the impossible possible. We're celebrating this Saturday at Mr. Chubby's Wings in Ponte Vedra Beach for a Florida-Texas watch party. Yes, I will be eating, and yes, I'll be drinking. Both are approved while losing weight with Awaken 180. Now, if you're ready for your own transformation, making the impossible possible, do what we all did and choose the solution for weight loss at awaken180weightloss.com. If they did this for me, they can do it for you too.
Wow, John, my Clearwater sprinkler system looks great.
All right, Frank, let's go ahead and program your Rainbird timer. How many minutes do you want the zones to run?
John, I think we run from the front 20, the sides 15, the back 10, the garden 5. Clearwater scores!
Well, that's a first, Frank, but you're the boss.
Clearwater irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers.
And drainage to
ClearwaterJags.com.
When you show your home love with a natural gas water heater, it loves you right back with more cost-efficient, endless hot water.
Hon, hurry it up, please.
And right now, you'll love earning a cash rebate up to $700 when you install an energy-efficient natural gas water heater.
We're going to be late.
Again.
What? Did you say something, hon?
To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
Hey everybody, it's Mike Dempsey. Here in North Florida, you know that when temperatures go up and your AC goes out, you need help now. Like right now. Like lickety-split. So why not call Lickety Split and get same-day emergency service for your AC? Now, I bet you've seen their trucks all over town because they've got dozens of certified technicians ready to repair not only your AC, but your home's plumbing and electrical too. So when you want it done right, and you need it done right now, call Lickety Split AC Plumbing and Electric.
Now that's what I call high-quality H2O. If you want high-quality water in your home at a fair price that won't scare you to death, then talk to someone who knows water and is not a pushy salesman. Contact your local water boy, Keith. I install premium equipment and can repair or even rebuild your existing system. In a business known for aggressive sales tactics, let me show you how my approach is different. If you've got any water problems, contact the water boy at waterboyjack.com.
Navy Mutual was created by service members for service members, so we know what it means to serve. Our policies have no active duty service restrictions, so you can rest assured that you're covered no matter your duty station, home or abroad. To go even further, we promise that premiums will not be higher for those who serve in dangerous environments, including aviation, diving, or on deployments. Let us help you protect those you love the most. Learn more at NavyMutual.org.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On November 5th, 2022, NHL star Alex Ovechkin scores his 787th career goal for the Washington Capitals, setting a new all-time NHL record for most goals scored for a single team.
DivorceMenOnly.com. This is Kenny Lay of Kenny Lay & Associates. Our firm specializes in representing men in family law. That's all we do. That's our only focus. We can help with all of your family law needs, such as divorce, custody, alimony, and child support. For over a decade, we have helped thousands of men with these types of issues. We even have an appellate division ready to challenge a judge's ruling. If you need a family law attorney, go to DivorceMenOnly.com. DivorceMenOnly.com. Offices, Jacksonville.
These are interesting economic times. That's why it's so important to have someone you can count on. That's ITP Partners. Jacksonville folks taking care of our Jacksonville money. Experience? You best believe you want to give your hard-earned money to folks you trust. Jeff Hartman, Chris Bryan, Dan Abel, Reed Wingate, Scott Regner, Janice Cobb, and Reagan Wright have the expertise and knowledge to help clients in their financial lives, focusing on investment management, financial planning, and risk management. ITP Partners. Financial partners for life. Securities offered through American Portfolios Financial Services, Inc. Member FINRA SIPC.
This is Dr. Kevin Kaplan, head team physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jags, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
Jaguars head coach Doug Peterson spoke on Monday about this play by Trayvon Walker.
Inside handoff, that is Saquon Barkley. Broke the tackle, go for it. The ball came out. The ball is picked up by Trayvon Walker. The ball is fumbled, and Trayvon is running it back. He's still on his feet. Trayvon at the 20. Trayvon at the 15. Trayvon at the 10. Trayvon is into the end zone. That's going to be a touchdown. Trayvon Walker picked it up and ran it back, and the Jags are in the end zone again.
Heck of a play, great awareness. One, to get on that ball, which is something our defense preaches a lot, when balls are on the ground like that, and broke a few tackles, got a nice block down the field, and got in the end zone, so it looked pretty good.
I'm Andrew Gibson with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars update.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Helmets and Heels is switched on by
First Coast Lighting and Fans.
Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor on 1010XL.
Taylor Dahl, Mia O'Brien, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you. And yes, we're jamming out to some Mariah Carey on this epic Cool and Heating Air Tuesday. All right, so when it comes to the NFL midseason awards, I like saying it like that better than report cards, midseason report.
Yeah, I know. It's a midseason awards.
Because report cards just give me anxiety.
Because even though you always did good on your report
did, but I still dreaded seeing something I didn't want to see.
Also because it's
was a B.
Everyone thinks my lifelong dream is to go national or something like that. My lifelong dream is to host the Golden Globes, and so this is probably as close as we're going to get to that. So, therefore, roll the tape, RJ.
The Golden Globes, that remind me of what that is. I know what the Oscars are.
Golden Globe is TV and movies together.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we
That's
have
the one
it.
that Amy Poehler and Tina Fey hosted together for a while there.
Sounds
very
good.
inspirational. Very influential in my young life.
All right, so most surprising team in the NFL to this point, we'll each give an AFC team and an NFC team. Taylor, I'll start with you.
Okay, so disappointing, you said?
Surprise.
Surprise.
I don't know
Most
which one I
surprising.
said, actually,
Oh.
so you get to pick.
Okay, I'll start with most surprising. My NFC most surprising, I'm going to say the Vikings. I think that I was not expecting with Sam Darnold for them to be as good as they are offensively, even despite all of the other weapons. Not that I thought they would suck. I still thought that they were going to be competitive in the NFC North, but they have just proved me wrong big time. And even defensively, losing Danielle Hunter, I thought that was going to hurt them. And Jonathan Grenard's come in and played really well in his place. So I'm going to say Vikings for my NFC team. My AFC team, I'm actually going to say the Broncos.
Okay.
I just did not expect that from Bo Nix whatsoever, especially right out the gate, what he's been able to do. I don't think he has some top-tier receiving core, and he's still been able to do it. I think that after last year with what happened with Sean Payton and Russell Wilson, I was like, this looks like it may still continue to be kind of a bit of a disaster and take some time to get back on track, and it hasn't. It looks like they've turned this team around pretty quickly, and I think that honestly we're going to keep seeing them get better throughout the season.
They do take on the Chiefs in Kansas City this Sunday,
Yeah.
so that'll be a good test. I have the Vikings as well, Mia, for my NFC team. I looked back at our my NFL preseason predictions as far as who would make the postseason, and I didn't have the Vikings anywhere in the NFC playoff predictions, so that means they have to be a surprising team. The fact that J.J. McCarthy was lost for the season in, August, and they didn't skip a beat. Sam Darnold was the guy, and the fact that they have the winning record that they do is impressive. And then my AFC team, I'm going to go, I shouldn't have been surprised by this team, but my goodness, we didn't know who their quarterback was going to be in the beginning of the season, nor through about 5 weeks of the season. That would be the Pittsburgh Steelers, Mike Tomlin. Golly gee, he's such a good coach.
I was trying to avoid duplicates. We are allowing duplicates.
We make our own rules around here.
I would like to thank both of you for opening the door, though, for me. A team that so many of us wondered, might they actually be good? No. A couple other my friends in the league told me, they're not going to be that good. Their offensive line's not that good. The defense has tons of question marks. The Washington Commanders, folks, are a 7-win football team at the halfway mark of the 2024 NFL season.
I couldn't make them my surprise
She
team
put them in the
because
playoffs.
I have them in the playoffs
And
as a
I
wild
picked
card.
them as my team that I thought was going to surprise everybody.
Right,
So.
exactly. So by virtue of those
Yeah.
predictions, you two could not select the Commanders.
But
so
absolutely, they deserve the spot.
thank you for that. I also had the Steelers, but for, changing it up a little bit sake, I will go, and this is a team that I don't think surprises people that they're in the hunt given they are playing a last place schedule and who their head coach is. I will go the Los Angeles Chargers. I do think with the easy schedule the rest of the way, I know it gets a little bit more difficult, but I think that what you've seen over the last 2 weeks with Justin Herbert throwing for over 300 yards is you are seeing an evolution of this offense that they literally, truly, Jaguars, if anyone's listening at the Miller Electric Center, they took down the entire offense to the studs. And they said, we are going to build through our offensive line. We're going to be a run-first team. It doesn't matter that we have a top 10 quarterback. And now that they have found a rhythm and a groove with that run game and have built this thing around that offensive line, now they are allowing Justin Herbert to air it out. Now that they've rebuilt Quentin Johnston's confidence, now that Ladd McConkey has proven himself in a couple of games in the National Football League, even with limited resources at the skill player position, now you are seeing Justin Herbert once again putting up the numbers that we're accustomed to seeing.
All right, let's get it to most disappointing. I'll go first, and I'll tell you my AFC team is right here in Jacksonville. No surprise, the Jacksonville Jaguars have only won 2 games. If you had asked me before the season to bet money, which I don't bet on my own teams, but if you had asked me, this team will be 2-7 or 7-2 9 weeks in, I would have told you 100 times over this team will be 7-2, not 2-7. We all know the story. They have a terrible defense. They have a terrible offense. And the only thing that's decent are special teams. So I'm going to say the Jacksonville Jaguars for my AFC team. And for the NFC team, I think this one's fairly obvious, the Dallas Cowboys. We just talked about the injury issue with Dak Prescott, but it's much bigger than that. Mike McCarthy will most likely be the next head coach fired. And Jerry Jones keeps meddling with a team that's not good.
I anticipated the Cowboys' demise. I also anticipated, and I know they're a 6-win team,
and the Cowboys winning their division.
The trials and tribulations of the Philadelphia Eagles, not a surprise to me either. Those were 2 storylines I predicted going into the 2024 season. So for my disappointing team in the NFC, I'm going to go with a team that certainly still has a path to the playoffs, but it is surprising to see them sitting at 4-4, and that's the defending NFC champions in the San Francisco 49ers, certainly losing Brandon Ayuk for the season. He didn't even look like Brandon Ayuk when he first began the year because he barely practiced. There have been questions about, all right, put up or shut up, Brock Purdy. You don't have Christian McCaffrey at your disposal. This week he finally will. This week, potentially this week or next week, they finally will. But for the first 8 weeks of the season, you have not had Christian McCaffrey. You haven't had Brandon Ayuk. Deebo Samuel's been banged up. George Kittle's been banged up. What can you do without them? And the answer is 4-4. And while maybe they sneak into the postseason because the NFC West, basically everybody's sitting there around 500. Yeah. Literally, everyone is sitting there around 500. I'm curious to see what happens down the stretch for the Niners, especially knowing their schedule is a first-place schedule.
So did you have the Cowboys and Eagles not making the postseason?
I had them getting it. I had the Eagles getting in, but then the Eagles get bounced in the first round and they fire Sirianni. But I had the Cowboys missing the playoffs. I had the Cowboys as like a 4 or 5 win team. So that's why for me,
Sirianni probably should be fired, but that's
especially
that's
after what we saw this week. So so in the NFC, I will go with the 49ers, and in the AFC, again, for the sake of trying to change things up, I will go with the New York Jets. It is not a surprise to me that they are cratering in a 3-win outfit. I know they just beat the Houston Texans. That's not going to solve all their problems, folks. They basically, as Hayes Carline so beautifully illustrated on the Terminex kickoff show on Sunday, tried to give that game to the Houston Texans. Before there was Nick Sirianni's masterpiece against the Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday, there was the Houston Texans and the New York Jets on Thursday Night Football. And Aaron Rodgers and company with Malachi Corley dropping the ball and on the goal line and just miscue after miscue, penalties on field goals, on punts. They tried to give the game to Houston. The Texans would not take it. Don't be surprised, folks, when the Jets are once again picking in the top 10 and Ron is maybe going to a different team, or maybe he's going to hang it up. Taylor would like either of those things to happen.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people are surprised about the Jets because of the injury to Rodgers and prior to the season, and Sal obviously being on the hot seat. Taylor, who you got?
I actually did have the Jets as my in the AFC. I feel like for me, I was going to go Dolphins, but
that's the other team I
didn't want to pick a team that because of injury I felt like was there. And that's why also I didn't want to pick the Niners in the NFC, because I feel like if Christian McCaffrey was still playing and they weren't dealing with all these injuries, I don't think we would be seeing this Niners team we've seen. And the same for the Dolphins. I don't think that the Dolphins are maybe what a lot of people thought they could be even with Tua, but I do think they're way more competitive with Tua, so I do think they wouldn't be a 2-6 team in that world. So I am going to say Jets, just because I think even coming off the injury, it's still disappointing, because you signed this guy and you
signed all his friends.
You brought all of his friends to town, and you thought that he had over a year to get healthy, and you have this defense that everyone said was going to be one of the best defenses in the NFL, and you were given everything to be at least a little bit successful, and you're 3-6 and you're losing to bad teams. So I think that any Jets fan should be disappointed, because you have a two-time MVP not that long ago, by the way. It was only like 3 years ago that he won one of his MVPs. So that one to me for the AFC. And then for me, the NFC, I went Cowboys too. I just think that every year the Cowboys let you down. It's just what they do once they get to the postseason. But they usually get to the postseason. And I feel like Dak kind of collapses there and things start to fall apart, whether it's coaching, whether it's Dak, whatever. But they still are able. I mean, Dak had one of his best career years last year, and I did think they were going to build off that. To me, there was way too many weapons, and again, way too many good players on defense. Granted, Michael Parsons gone, so that is a big factor. That's an injury. You could say that maybe things wouldn't have looked quite as bad if Michael Parsons was on the defense out there playing. But yeah, to me, I think it's hard not to say that it's a disappointment for Dallas, because you also had a rookie quarterback coming in on one of the teams who, yes, is playing very well, but the Eagles have kind of taken a step back, and the Giants, like, you had the easiest path, I feel like, to be able to take this division, and you couldn't do it.
No, you certainly could not. All right, offensive MVP. The NFL calls it the NFL MVP. It's usually an offensive player. Mia, who you got?
This one's easy. The king of Yulee, Derrick Henry.
Oh.
Folks, the rumors of his demise greatly exaggerated. He has already gone over the 1,000-yard rushing mark. He has now eclipsed 100 career touchdowns. I know that this is traditionally a quarterback award. Yes, some running backs have certainly broken through. I would argue that Lamar Jackson is the MVP through 8-9 weeks of the NFL season. But for me, on the offensive side of the ball, I will give the nod to the king.
All right, Taylor?
I honestly debated going Derrick Henry just because, yes, he's just been absolutely insane this whole year, and some of the things that he can still do this late into his career are really fun to watch. But I actually am going to go Jared Goff. And we had this conversation yesterday about Jared Goff, but I just think that he's playing incredible football right now. And when you look at a guy who is completing almost 74.9% of his passes, over 1,800 yards, 14 touchdowns, just 4 turnovers. He's in a really tough division, so we'll see. He just rocked the Packers, and the Packers were looking like their defense was going to be one of the better ones in the leagues too, and he just kind of did whatever he wanted, especially in that first half against the Packers. The one thing I will say about Jared Goff is you do want to see, I feel like, things for him start to slow down later in the games, and so it will be interesting if games are more competitive late, if he can kind of hold on to it, because you have seen him for some reason late in the game things start, and maybe that's, I don't know if that's Ben Johnson kind of taking it a little easier, not making him make any big mistakes or something. But I think that with what Jared Goff and the Lions offense is doing right now, it looks really good.
Yeah. Would any of us be surprised if it's Patrick Mahomes yet again? Probably not. But at this point in time, the team is undefeated, but they are in very close games. They're not winning the way they have been in the past. But I'm going to go completely off kilter. You'll find this guy on the odds list for MVP, but not very high. Kirk Cousins. The Falcons won 7 games last year. They already have 6 wins through the first, 9 games of the season. Kirk Cousins has 17 touchdowns, 7 picks. He has a resurgence for this Falcons offense that we knew had weapons, but they never had the right quarterback. They take Michael Penix Jr. in the top 10, and Kirk Cousins says, not so fast, my friend. Yeah. I'm healthy, and I'm going to lead this team to win the division. So I've got Kirk Cousins. And defensive MVP, I am going to go with a guy that's on the team that probably will win the Super Bowl once again, and that will be Chris Jones. I saw the piece on Chris Jones from a couple weeks ago on Monday Night Football where he has on his mirror at home, he has written out exactly what his goals are, and his goal this year is to win Defensive Player of the Year, DPOI. Chris Jones may not have the stacks, of course, because he's a defensive tackle, not a defensive end / outside linebacker, but he is a monster, and every single offensive line that has to go up against him has to game plan for exactly where number 95 is on the field at all times. So I'm going to take Chris Jones. Taylor?
Yeah, I'm going to say TJ Watt. I think that he's just the things that TJ Watt can do on the football field, and I know you mentioned a second ago he only has the half a sack more than Trayvon Walker right now. I also think Trayvon's playing well. He also has one game less because they've already had their bye week. But his tackles for loss, 10 tackles for loss. He's forced 4 fumbles, the 4 forced fumbles he's had this season. He's really, really good against the run. He can just do everything. And also, I feel like he's the defense pretty much in Pittsburgh. I know there's other pieces around him that definitely kind of contribute, but he's just this guy that every single game, when we were talking about Justin Jefferson making the impact offensively for the Vikings every single game, TJ Watt does that for the Steelers.
They have the exact same amount of sacks.
Oh,
6.5.
Okay.
TJ Watt and Trayvon Walker. Take that, people who thought Trayvon wasn't good. Mia, who you got?
Well, speaking of, say something nice about Aiden Hutchinson challenge. Look, let's be real. If Aiden Hutchinson doesn't go down for presumably the year, he's probably across the board. He's the favorite to win this, and obviously sending him good vibes, hoping everything goes well in his recovery. If the Lions make the Super Bowl, maybe we see him again, maybe we don't. But he obviously now has to be taken off the board for the defensive MVP, not only for our midseason awards, but for the entire season, which brings me to another guy who speaks to exactly what Trayvon Walker which is maybe you don't see it right away in the National Football League, but just give him some time and give him the right ecosystem. I am, of course, talking about a former teammate of Trevor Lawrence's, in Dexter Lawrence with the New York Giants. He is the straw that stirs the drink. He is second in the National Football League in sacks from the defensive tackle position, not the edge rusher position. Certainly having Brian Burns helps. Kayvon Thibodeau has been up and down and hurt and available and not available. That's a defensive front that the Giants invested heavily in this offseason, but it was based on the bet that Sexy Dexy would take the next step. He certainly has. He's a big reason why the Giants have been in ball games so far this year.
Yeah, I love his Sexy Dexy dance.
And they asked Jason Kelsey about him a couple weeks ago when the Giants were on Monday Night Football, and Jason Kelsey's like, I don't want to ever line up against him ever again.
And he's the prime example of when that crew came out of Clemson after they won the national title in 2019. It was him, it was Christian Wilkins, a certain Cleveland Farrell pick that I don't think the Las Vegas Raiders would like to take back. But here in Jacksonville, we're very glad they made that pick because that is how we landed Josh Hines-Allen in the city of Jacksonville. So I think that though Dexter Lawrence being the third of those Clemson defensive linemen who was drafted that year said to people, oh, well, he's just a nose tackle. And guess what? You give him time to develop. He's had multiple defense coordinators. He's had multiple schemes. He's had a rotating door opposite him along that defensive front. And finally, I think he's settled in, and that's even with a change at defense coordinator this offseason.
All right, there you have it. Those are mid-season awards for the NFL. Our highlights are next. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on an epic cool heating and air Tuesday on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
The big stories from the weekend's big games.
They're fans of football.
That's what Post-Game Monday is for.
What a game. Amazing.
Brought to you by Daddy Foods, makers of quality fresh sandwiches and home of the good stuff on 1010XL. Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
Mia O'Brien here for my friends at Duck Duck Rooter. If water flows through it, the team at Duck Duck can install it or repair it. From septic tank pump outs, drain field installations, clogged drains, water heaters to repipes, they do it all, and they do it well. But don't just take my word for it. Check out the reviews on Google and see what customers just like you are saying about their experience with Duck Duck Rooter. Duck Duck Rooter is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit duckduckrooter.com to schedule service today.
Hacker here. By now you've probably heard I dropped over 100 pounds with Awaken 180. And now we want you to come celebrate with me at Mr. Chubby's Wings in Ponte Vedra for a Florida-Texas watch party. Saturday the 9th. Yep, we'll celebrate my weight loss with great food at a Gator watch party. And for a chance for you and a guest to win a free tab at my table, text the word Chubby to the 1010XL text line at 641-1010. Plus, I'll have ticket giveaways and more fun at Mr. Chubby's in Ponte Vedra.
Swammin, when was the last time that you cleaned your air ducts?
Dad, I manage the air duct cleaning at Zero Res. Trust me, my ducts are cleaner than the plates after Thanksgiving dinner.
Well, I hope so, but it's not just you I'm thinking of. Everyone in Jacksonville should get their air ducts cleaned before the holidays.
You're right. Even though we don't blast the heat like up north, we still trap dust and allergens when the windows stay shut. All that gunk just recirculates through your home and makes your air quality worse.
So you're saying Zero-Res air duct cleaning keeps my air fresh and ready for my holiday guests?
Exactly. Clean ducts means cleaner air, just in time for Thanksgiving. Plus, we've got a November special running right now. Call Zero-Res today and we'll give you $50 off. No more dust, just fresh, clean air for you and your family this holiday season.
Sounds good, son. Now, how about that family discount?
We'll see, Dad.
Visit ZeroResJacksonville.com or call now. Zero-Res,
spelled forward or backwards, it's the right way to clean.
Zero-Res.
Football fans, huddle up. Make Best Bet St. Augustine your game day headquarters. We're serving up the ultimate viewing experience with all the big games on our massive screens, mouth-watering food specials till 2 a.m., drink deals to keep your spirits high, and we're open till 4 in the morning for post-game celebrations. Ante up for your team and score big at Best Bet St. Augustine this football season. For the play-by-play on our game day specials, visit bestbetjacks.com. That's bestbetjacks.com. Best Bet St. Augustine, where every fan leaves a champion.
The best teal-colored coverage includes Mia's Quick Hits.
Get the latest news from inside the building and around the league. I'm Mia O'Brien, 1010XL's NFL Insider.
Driven by Arlington Toyota. Available on the video and social channels of 1010XL.
Are you 18 years or older, just got married, just got divorced, or have children? Listen up. Have you done your last will and estate planning? You have questions? Call Matt Hinson with the Hinson Law Firm. Reach him at 527-1700. Office is Jacksonville, Florida. And don't let the state decide your fate.
Collisions happen on every play in football. Collisions also happen every day on the road. If you need auto body repair, from a $30 job to a $30,000 job, trust San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
This is Mark Nato. My sons and I have seen the doctors and PAs at Southeast Ortho for everything from lumbar spine stress to elbow tendonitis. Southeast has always been there, been truthful, and always been on point. Everything they say happens. We can't thank them enough for what they've done and the great care that they have taken of our sons.
Relieve pain and get back to life. SOS. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Brian Wall here with Window World. You know that awesome feeling when you finally find that one place to go to that will give you a top quality product at a great price and then stand behind what they sell you? That's exactly what Window World does. Top quality, energy efficient windows at a great price that keeps more of your money in your bank account. With the absolute best guarantee in the window replacement business. That's why Window World has been the #1 window replacement company in the USA for years, selling more than 1 million windows each year for the past 8 years. That's a lot of satisfied customers, and you can be one too. Save money on installing new energy-efficient windows and save on your energy bills too. You can't lose. And if anything goes wrong with your new Window World windows ever, Window World and I will be there to make it right. Call Window World today or see them online and have them come and give you a free estimate and see why we are so proud of our products and the work we do for our customers. Call Window World or go online at windowworldneflorida.com. And thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors.
Atlantic Self-Storage, the official storage partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Need to make room to watch football in your home or need a place to park your boat or RV? Store it all at Atlantic Self-Storage. Over 50 locations in Northeast Florida. 24-hour access, all with month-to-month leases. Moving, they can help with supplies. They make storage easy. Go to AtlanticSelfStorage.com or call 877-WE-STORE to find a storage solution near you. Go Jags!
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Local Sports Update, brought to you by Baker Glass. The Florida Gators got a sigh of relief when head coach Billy Napier announced that quarterback DJ Lagway's injury was much less significant than they originally thought. Lagway, who was carted off the field in the first half against Georgia and never returned, has not been ruled out for this Saturday's game in Texas, says Napier.
Yeah, no, I think injuries are one of the more challenging parts of the profession and, coaching and play. The good news is we have some positive
positive information on that front. We do think that the injury is less significant. We do think there's a pathway for recovery and a return. A lot of good on that front. Less significant than we anticipated. We have not completely ruled him out, and I think a lot of that will be to be determined as we move our way throughout the week.
Gators and Longhorns this Saturday at noon. You can listen to the game live on 1010XL 92.5 FM. It's 84 degrees at 1 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Light up your lunch with Helmets and Heels.
Presented by First Coast Lighting and Fans.
On 1010XL.
When I was 6 years old. We were just talking some NFL. Well, there is news. As far as the trade deadline is concerned, the Saints are sending four-time Pro Bowl cornerback Marshawn Lattimore to the Washington Commanders. So we do understand that means the Saints are waving the white flag. No surprise there. And the Commanders are a serious playoff team. And oh, by the way, Seahawks wide receiver DK Metcalf will not be traded. If the Seahawks had traded DK Metcalf, that would have been one of the dumber things I've ever seen.
Right. We were just talking about the NFC West when I said the 49ers were among my most disappointing teams in the National Football League at 4-4. Here's what the standings look like in the NFC West right now, folks. The Arizona Cardinals are in first place at 5-4. The Rams and Niners tied at 4-4. And the Seahawks 4-5. Just 2 games out, 1 game out, 1.5 games. I'm not sure how that works. Point is, they're right in the thick of things in that division.
Oh, yeah.
And yes, they started 3-0. They faltered down the middle part of the first half of the season. They did find their footing in Atlanta, of all places. And so at the end of the day, Geno Smith leads the National Football League in passing yards. Part of that is certainly by virtue of having Ryan Grubb as your offensive play caller. But I would like to think part of it, too, is because this is a good offense, and it certainly can compete in a division that right now looks at least banged up, if not weak.
Seahawks have a bye week this week, but then these are their next 4 games. Talk about deciding the division. At the 49ers, play host to the Cardinals. At the Jets, ignore that one. And then at the Cardinals again.
Depending on what you think the Cardinals are,
right?
Because there's a lot of folks that think the Cardinals are just an opportunistic, feisty football team that's still a year away. Mm-hmm. If you're the Seahawks and you believe that while you have a first-year head coach and a first-year play caller, you have a veteran quarterback, you have veteran wide receivers, you have pieces along that defense that you would like to think you could perhaps beat the kids from the desert.
Yeah.
And you might want to load up even a little bit.
Well, just if you look at the playoff picture right now because of like tiebreakers and things like that. So Cardinals obviously lead that division. The 8 seed right now in the NFC is the Bears. The 9 is the Niners. The 10th is the Rams. 11 is Bucks. Then 12th is the Seahawks.
Yeah, I feel like the NFL has a ton of parity this season. Yes, we've talked about the Chiefs being undefeated to this point in time, but outside of the Chiefs and maybe the Lions, like I've said, I think those are the 2 elite teams in the NFL. There's so many other teams that fit in that kind of next tier. And I know Gus Logue always does his tiers, and certainly he has a lot more categories than that. But it kind of feels to me like you've got those 2 teams, the Chiefs and the Lions. You've got a whole host of other teams that are either probably above average or right around 500.
Yeah.
And then you've got the dregs. And you can put a lot of teams in the dregs, including the Jaguars and the Panthers and the Patriots and teams like that.
Hey, listen, the Jets and the Dolphins are also in that category.
Yeah, they
and the Bengals just recently crawled out of that tier.
Absolutely. All right, time now for our highlights.
Now, Heels Highlights. Unbelievable! On 1010XL.
Another hat trick for Caleb Johnson as Iowa puts up a 40-burger again. Should he be in the Heisman conversation?
Lester recruited Sullivan while he was at Western Michigan. This time it's Johnson. It's over. Touchdown. That's what he does. Too easy. 16 yards out.
Aaron Jones is the ultimate teammate.
And then go in the locker room, and I got a gift from a military soldier sitting in my locker, and it just gave me a moment of gratitude. Just how thankful I am to be able to play this game, the game that I love. So many people wish they could play this game or be at this level. And, just to make it to this level, even when people are doubting you or whatever, just a moment of gratitude and thank God for putting me in this position and putting me here.
Thomas Houck steals it. Walter Clayton sends it. Will Richard dunks it.
Against A&M in the SEC tournament, 20 points.
Yeah, vaulted into the title game. There's a takeaway out of the head. What a lead feed to Richard.
Hold on. What Shane Beamer know about Fantasia?
I
told my kids all week that if we won this football game, all right, I was going to do a little celebration for her here in the locker room. Right. I'm going to need y'all's help, but we ain't singing happy birthday. Don't think it's that, all right? I know y'all sing this song at practice, so I'm going to need a little backup right here, but this is her little birthday. Hit it, Big Mike.
Thank you. We got a Xavier Legette reference, and we have a Shane Beamer reference, and of course, South Carolina. Yeah, well, we won't talk about that third reference to the Gamecocks on today's program because, swoop, swoop, baby. But man, oh man, I love Shane Beamer. Another guy it's very hard to root against.
Yeah, I gave mine, and then I was like, if nobody has this, RJ, please throw Shane Beamer in there also, because I was seeing so many clips. Obviously, that I loved the upset. It was fantastic. I loved his energy in the locker room. But then he has his whole team serenade his wife for their anniversary. It's so cute.
So adorable.
Even though I'd be so embarrassed. I'd be like, oh, my God, why are you doing this to me?
You would like it. I get it. I mean, it's fun because it's those young guys. But at the same time, I can see you blushing. All right, so your actual highlight was Aaron Jones.
Yes, and so he, after their win, went on and said that every day he would go leave flowers in Kyrie Jackson's locker. And obviously, if you don't remember, there was a tragic accident and Kyrie Jackson lost his life before the season started, one of their draft picks. And so I just thought that was like a really cool moment because unfortunately, we get into the football season and people forget that stuff, but it's real to them. Like this guy, they kept his locker up, obviously, for this season, which I think is really cool anyways, but then just kind of honoring him every single week and before a game and kind of talking to him and letting him be like his motivation to play good for this season. And it's turned out well for the Vikings so far. But I just think those little moments are beautiful, and it's easy to get swept away in like football, but this is more than football for a lot of these guys. And so those little clips I always love.
Former Packer. She chose a former
I couldn't believe
Packer.
it. I was like, wait, I think this is Taylor's because I don't think Laura
because you knew that Iowa was yours and you knew mine was going to be Florida men's basketball once you heard
or
the
Florida something.
So I will say my first one I sent to RJ was Jordan Love's pick 6, and then I switched it to this to be more positive.
Understandable. Caleb Johnson for Iowa. You put in there, should he be a contender for the Heisman?
Yeah, because I do think it's worth consideration. He's not going to be in the top 3 or top 4 that get an invite to New York. I could see him in that 5th or 6th in the voting, akin to where Ollie Gordon was a year ago. I could totally see a world where that happens. Ultimately, right now, look, I know Ashton Genty and Boise State are the toast of college football when it comes to running the football and being a human highlight reel on the ground right now. And part of this is because he had a season worst 37 yards on the ground in the first half this past Friday night. Ashton Genty has 1,525 rushing yards. Caleb Johnson has 1,279 rushing yards.
And people would argue Iowa's going up against better competition than Boise State.
Correct. And Caleb also does have a game up on Ashton Genty. But I heard Jeff talk about Caleb Johnson last week, and I texted Matt Hayes about it. Like, I think there's a reason we're talking about Ashton Genty because of obviously he
touches the ball, he scores touchdowns.
Yeah, and it's 20 touchdowns, over 1,500 yards, and like I said, a game less than Caleb. But I think that it's weird that we hadn't had Caleb Johnson in the conversation at least a little more, because last week they were even closer in numbers. I think it was like less than 200 apart when it comes to the yards, and then this last week it's about 250 now in the difference. But again, you're playing, it's like Big Ten opponents and the not Big Ten opponents. So it is interesting that it isn't more of a conversation, but I think because the Boise State aspect of it and how Boise State's playing right now, and that kind of adds this extra like, oh, Boise State's playing competitive football, and then also here's this blue field and Ashton Genty, and he's on pace to break all these records of Barry Sanders and da-da-da, so that adds this extra element. But Caleb Johnson should at least be talked about.
If not for that war criminal Cade McNamara, blowing it against Iowa State, and
got him in the transfer portal.
And Kirk Ferentz had to be suspended for a game for tampering. whimpering because of it. And yet, here we are in a world where if Cade McNamara could complete a forward pass against Michigan State and Iowa State and not crumble in the second half of the latter, we're talking about Iowa potentially being right there with Indiana for a playoff spot. And their only loss at that juncture would be to Ohio State, which I think there are certain college football fans who believe that if Brendan Sullivan had played against Ohio State, at the very least, that's a little bit closer of a game, and perhaps that helps you in the eye test. Because right now, you have a running back who, even if he's RB2 to Ashton Genty, he has 3 touchdowns in each of his last 2 games. He has 3 touchdowns in 3 of his 9 games played this season, and he has 2 touchdowns in 4 of those other games that he has played this season. And if we are going to make the argument for Caleb Johnson to be in the Heisman conversation, in the top 5 of voting, Lauren, if we are going to have that conversation for the second time in this program, I would invite you all to charge on. I would like to give R.J. Harvey of UCF his flowers. He has 1,201 rushing yards this year, just 78 less than one Caleb Johnson. And if we want to look at this in the context of how much of your offense is generated by running the football, well, I think it's safe to say you UCF fans, you don't even want me to read these numbers, but I'll save you those numbers and just say this. Cade McNamara is currently Iowa's passing leader, despite not playing several games, with 1,017 passing yards through 7 games. KJ Jefferson, who also was benched, although Cade McNamara hasn't been benched, he just has a concussion, folks. I'll believe that when I see it. KJ Jefferson was benched. He has 1,012 passing yards to lead the Knights. And so I bring that up to say both these offenses are predicated on the success of those 2 players. And if they are the most valuable player to that team, I believe that aids their case to be in the Heisman conversation.
What's interesting to me about Boise State, no one ever talks about the quarterback. No one even knows Boise State's quarterback's name. His name is Maddox Madsen. He has 17 touchdowns, 2 picks. Now he's thrown for about 1,000 fewer yards than a guy like Dylan Gabriel. Yeah. But that's because all they have to do a lot of times is run
give
the
ball to Genty.
Right.
Yeah.
But the level of competition, I do think that factors in for the Heisman. And so you can't talk about a guy being able to do what Genty's done and not look at the opponents. And look, Friday night I was watching Boise State. They were playing a team that was completely inferior. And so it's easy for him to rack up the stats.
And even then, he really did it in the first half. I was honestly kind of disappointed. Like, I was expecting, all right, hand him the ball.
It took a minute.
Yeah, it took a minute, which, I mean, that's normal. That's what normal human beings are like.
Yeah.
And we would be remiss if we didn't mention this one from 635 off the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures. Yes, the rumors are true. Ashton Genty has scored 126 points this year. Florida State, as a football team, has scored 119
They also
points.
only lost to 3 by number 1 Oregon in week 1. So it's not like they haven't played.
But no,
nobody.
they've played one really good team, the best team in the country, but there's been a lot of other teams
and then they beat
subpar.
20th ranked Washington State. So they've had like their competition too, but I do get when it's Big Ten, it makes it seem like it's different.
Yeah, and the guy who I mentioned a couple weeks ago as far as quarterbacks and not necessarily the Heisman, but quarterbacks who are playing incredibly well, and that's Curtis Work for Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
That cat is so good. He had to miss the 1 week because of injury, but he's back in the lineup, and Indiana, the fact that they're undefeated is just insane. That's why certainly we talked about them as being one of the biggest surprise teams in all of the country.
9-win Indiana, baby.
That's right.
9-win Indiana. It exists.
The very first college football playoff rankings come out tonight. I know most people will probably be tuned into something else going on in the world, but as far as, things going on in this country. But moreover, the first college football rankings do come out tonight.
Yeah, and also the trade deadline. Today's a very important day in the world, especially here in the United States of America.
You got that right. And my highlight, by the way, paid homage to Tim McGraw's Southern Voice, because I said Thomas Houck stole it, Walter Clayton sent it, and Will Richard dunked it. If you know the song Southern Voice, it goes, Hank Aaron smacked it, Michael Jordan dunked it, that song. And so that was what I had to do. And we'd already talked about Florida basketball, but they did the men's team beat South Florida last night, 98-83 here at ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena. All right, when we return, Taylor Dahl has a tangent. It's 1010XL, 92.5 FM, and Helmets and Heels, brought to you by Epic Cool Heating and Air on a Tuesday.
This hour of Helmets and Heels is brought to you by First Coast Honda dealers, who brought the house to their feet.
Listen to this place.
Universal Roofing Contracting presents the Offensive Player of the Game.
Wide open and just what they needed.
Experience the universal difference on 1010XL.
At Hodges Mazda, we are proud of our solid reputation in the Jacksonville community. Lauren Brooks here as your hometown Mazda dealer. The high customer service standards and the huge inventory of new and used cars at Hodges Mazda provides the customers a consistently first-rate car buying experience. Their professional non-commissioned sales team puts your best interest first without exception. And every vehicle purchase from Hodges Mazda comes with 2 years free maintenance. Visit Hodges Mazda today or shop online at hodgesmazda.com and discover the Hodges Mazda difference.
Yo, it's your boy E to the T here. And fellas, we all know that athletes train every day to perform better on the field, right? Well, what if you could enhance your performance in the bedroom? No training required. That's right. I'm talking about that secret weapon, Blue Chew. A chewable tablet with the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, Levitra, and Staxin that ships right to your door in a discreet package. No doctor visits, no trips to the pharmacy. It's all online. Their licensed medical providers work with you to find the right ingredients and strength for your prescription. They also have Daily Tag that contains 7 essential vitamins. And it's chewable too. And now you can try Blue Chew for the free ski. That's right, for free on me. Visit BlueChew.com and enter my promo code 1010XL. You only have to pay $5 for shipping. Turn that oh no into a oh yeah. That's promo code 1010XL. Let your boy hook you up with some Blue Chew. Get your confidence back. Visit BlueChew.com.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg of Underwoods. Clayton, in talking about the quality of cut of a diamond, is there a particular diamond cutter that's known as the best?
Frank, the answer is yes, and that would be Hearts on Fire, who have the world's most perfectly cut diamond, and we have them now at Underwoods. When anybody comes in and looks at one of these diamonds, the first thing they say is, wow! That's because these diamonds are cut from absolute maximum beauty and are really worth seeing, so you have an idea of how good a diamond can really look. They have perfect polish, perfect symmetry, and perfect proportions, and are backed up with an American Gem Society diamond quality document. Now, not every diamond could be a Hearts on Fire diamond because only certain rough diamonds in the hands of the most skilled cutters working in state-of-the-art cutting facilities can cut these. In fact, only 200 diamond cutters out of the 1 million people employed in the diamond cutting trade are skilled enough to cut Hearts on Fire diamonds.
See Hearts on Fire now at Underwoods, San Marco, Avondale, the shops of Ponte Vedra, Underwood Jewelers.
It's storm season, and JEA is committed to keeping you informed. In the event of a storm, we'll text and email you about the status of your services. We use Facebook and Twitter to post real-time updates. Our live outage map on JEA.com lets you track restoration progress. And as crews work to restore services, our storm outreach team will be in local neighborhoods to answer your questions. Because as your community utility, JEA is here to keep you safe and connected. Your community, your utility.
Value or flavor? Price or taste? Why choose when you can get both with everyday deals at Sonny's? Right now, you can get the pork big deal for $10, the pork and rib combo for $12, and all you can eat ribs for just $19.99. Yep, you heard right. All your favorites are now available all day, every day. And that's why it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue, local pitmasters since '68.
When it comes to towing products, your safety on the road is the priority at Cannons of Jacksonville. Whether it's a heavy-duty tow hitch, trailer frame, wiring, gooseneck, tow bar, or any other towing accessory, Cannons has decades of experience to ensure your towing setup is installed with precision and reliability. Visit cannonsofjax.com to explore a range of products and schedule your installation. Cannons of Jacksonville, your trusted partner for a smoother tow.
It's hard to stop the Tomahawk Chop.
I'm RJ Saunders. Follow Florida State's road to the college football playoff on the Seminole Report.
Brought to you by your local Ag Pro, your home team on 1010XL.
If your ride is making strange noises, don't wait and make it worse. Come to Action Transmission on Merrill Road. My expert technicians can diagnose the problem and likely fix it fast. Experience the difference at Action Transmission on Merrill Road.
Integrity, persistence, and standing up for victims. It's what you want in a personal injury case and what my friend and lawyer Glenn Cohen brings to every case for over 40 years. Call Glenn at Barnes, Cohen, and Sullivan.
Ready, set,
Universal Roof and Contracting presents the Offensive Player of the Game. Universal Roof and Contracting. The difference is universal.
Trevor Lawrence had a strong performance in the city of brotherly love on Sunday. The Jacksonville quarterback went 16 of 31 against Philly for 169 yards and added in 2 rushing touchdowns in what was a great outing. Lawrence styled and profiled against the Eagles defense all game long, and he's your Universal Roof and Contracting Offensive Player of the Game.
Break in the savings this fall with Universal Roof and Contracting. Enjoy 15% off all roof repairs and replacements, plus a free wind mitigation inspection. With financing options as low as $115 a month, protecting your home has never been easier. Schedule your free roof inspection today. Call 855-ROOF-HELP. Offer expires November 30th. Protect your home and your wallet.
License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
Navy Mutual was created by service members for service members, so we know what it means to serve. Our policies have no active duty service restrictions, so you can rest assured that you're covered no matter your duty station, home or abroad. To go even further, we promise that premiums will not be higher for those who serve in dangerous environments, including aviation, diving, or on deployments. Let us help you protect those you love the most. Learn more at NavyMutual.org.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This is Helmets and Heels.
Kept classy by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
On 1010XL.
Some more trade deadline news. Unfortunately, no. For those of you looking forward to involve your Jacksonville Jaguars, it does not. The New York Jets are trading Mike Williams to the Pittsburgh Steelers, so maybe that's a Jaguars connection if you believe the ESPN report that Christian Kirk potentially shopped to the Pittsburgh Steelers before he broke his collarbone 2 weeks ago.
I don't believe that, by the way.
You don't?
I don't believe it. I think people were interested in Kirk. I don't think the Jaguars would have shipped Kirk out.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, I'm kind of on the fence with it. It could have gone either way.
I personally could see it. I think the offense was so dead that they were like, this isn't fixable at this moment. So depending what people were offering, I could see them trying to get something out of it.
Yeah, the Jets are getting a 2025 fifth rounder back for Mike Williams. I would think if you were to have dealt Christian Kirk, certainly it's a large cap number next year. Mm-hmm. But I would think you would want a minimum of a third if you're the Jaguars, and maybe that makes it a bit more appetizing, especially if the Steelers were to eat a large chunk of that contract, even though you would incur some dead cap money if you're the Jags. Yeah. And so but then again.
What was Mingo for just now?
A fourth. A fourth, yes, for those of you wondering. But that's Jerry world. You know how things operate.
He lives in his own world.
Things operate in a different world there. The full terms of, in case you missed it, the Washington Commanders trade for Saints Pro Bowl corner Marshawn Lattimore. The Saints are getting a third, a fourth, and the sixth from the Ridgeway trade. That is a reference to the defensive tackle who the Commanders dealt to the Saints before the season began, or rather vice versa. And now they're getting the sixth back, I guess, is what Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network is alluding to. But the point being that the Saints are getting a third and a fourth and a sixth from the Washington Commanders in exchange for Marshawn Lattimore and a fifth-round pick, which, given Marshawn Lattimore's age, and certainly, yes, he is a Pro Bowler, and he has, at times, flashed once again this year, although maybe not at the level of where he was a few years ago, that's certainly a pretty high price for a player who is also being paid pretty handsomely.
Yeah, I think that definitely shows their concern, like, in their secondary in general, and they feel like they have to do something if they want to be able to maybe compete with some of the teams coming up, that some of the offenses they have to face.
I heard you last week, Taylor, breaking down how the NFL trade deadline basically used to be pretty quiet and it's ramped up a lot. It makes so much sense. Like, follow the Major League Baseball idea of buyers and sellers. Yeah. There are teams that are terrible. Yeah. There are teams that are ascending, but they need some pieces from the teams that are terrible. All right now, Taylor Dahl has a tangent.
Now, Taylor's Tangent, served up by Chick-fil-A on 1010XL.
Okay, so this isn't a fun one for us here in Jaguars.
Is not
Nation.
a fun one?
Is
anything fun right now when it comes to the Jags?
But I heard Hayes Carline say this yesterday on the Frangie show, and he just said one of the stats, and that stat just stuck with me so much that I wanted to go further into this. So I went and found the article where he got this information from, took some of those numbers, also found some other stuff. Daniel Griffiths, I reached out to him, and he had some numbers too on it. But it's just how we talked about the defense and the struggling defense, but the third down defense in particular, which we know the third down offense is also not good. That's been a problem. The red zone offense hasn't been good, but then on the other side, the third down defense and the red zone defense has also been bad. So when you combine those two, this is why your team has 2 wins. Is because of a lot of things, but probably a large portion because of those 4 things. And I heard Jeff Loggeman talk about it too on the Jaguars today about the explosive plays allowed and all of those things. So there's a lot of numbers right now that are leading to this. But let's just start with, so this last week when we saw obviously the Devontae Smith and the Ronald Darby allowing that touchdown to Smith, really good catch obviously, but somebody pointed out that in the specific article. So they went on and kind of expanded this conversation into the third down in general and where the Jags have struggled on these third downs and compared it to the NFL. So in a 13-play sample, expanding to a 3rd and 8+, the Jags have the 3rd worst conversion rate allowed of any team. They've allowed 7 touchdowns in that range. No other team in the NFL has given up more than 2 on 3rd and 8+. So they're allowing the worst EPA per play on 3rd and 8+ through 9 weeks of any team since 2007. Oof. That goes as far back as this data can even go, the ESPN data.
Come on. 2007 was not long ago data.
But that's where ESPN started tracking this specific thing, I guess. NFL opposing offenses convert on 8% of the time on 3rd and 15 or more. The Jags have allowed 39% completion percentage on 3rd or 15 and more. The league's 31 other teams have allowed 5 third and forever touchdowns, and the Jags have given up 4. So out of 9 total 3rd and 15+ touchdowns, there's 9 total in the entire NFL, and 4 of those belong to the Jaguars that they have allowed.
Nothing cheap, nothing deep, though.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So when you're looking at the 3rd and 10+ passing when it comes to the opposing teams, they're 18 for 25, 72% completion percentage, 235 yards, 9.4 yards per an attempt, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, 140.8 quarterback rating on a 3rd and 10+ passing.
Oh, my goodness. Like you said, not fun.
Did you hear the stat that Tony Baselli had on Jaguars Happy Hour yesterday as well?
Yeah, that's the one I just read.
Yes, I know. That's what I was pulling that up as you were saying it. Yes, I just wanted to make sure that we hit that one home because
it's ugly. It's all ugly. And that's why even this last week or on Monday, yesterday, whatever day it is, we were talking about how, the defense didn't play terrible. The defense has been bad in the worst moments is the issue.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to say it.
They have times where you're like, okay, good stop, good job, like you held them to a field goal, or you didn't, they didn't even get to the 50, and you're great. But then in moments like this, when you get them into a situation where most teams, when 31 other teams are stopping the opposing offenses on a 3rd and 15, you're allowing touchdowns, and that's a massive problem.
And not only that, but you thought you solved the massive problem by releasing Mike Caldwell to go coach somewhere else, and by hiring Ryan Nielsen. And you believed in the players that you had, you just needed to change the scheme. But clearly, it's not just the scheme. I think it's also the players that you have. And so there's a mixture, obviously, there. But how is that going to get fixed? We asked the question earlier, what does the secondary look like next year? I mean, I thought these linebackers were really good. I thought the defensive front was going to be really good. And so, maybe the secondary had some holes, but you can pretty much cover that up if you get good pass rush. Nope. Yeah. So another defensive coordinator, but the same players, maybe some new players. Like, I don't know how to fix it.
I mean, going back to the top of the hour, Mia, when we were saying it almost looks at this point that I guess we were all having a conversation of you're going to have to revamp the whole secondary, it looks like at this point. And then also probably it looks like another DC, because this just everything that seemed like was Ryan Nielsen's MO has just drastically failed when it comes to the rotations, at linebacker and the line, when it comes to rotations in the secondary, when it comes to this aggressiveness and
lack thereof.
Well, that's what we were sold that it was going to be, and it's been completely opposite of that.
And that's That's the part that is most concerning to me. The hockey shift rotation, if you do go back and you look, they were employing it in Atlanta. I think the reason that it wasn't as jarring was because Grady Jarrett did go down with a season-ending injury. Additionally, who are the marquee players on the defense in Atlanta, even now, let alone a year ago before they fortified that roster in the offseason?
Right. Here, there are marquee players.
Correct.
That should not be taken off the field.
Bingo.
Yeah.
And that is where, and their depth pieces are backups, and that's okay. They're good depth pieces or backups, but they're not at the level of those marquee players comparatively to Atlanta, where perhaps it was just kind of like good across the board.
Decent, and they needed that kind of filter.
Right,
that
exactly.
filter.
And so I don't want to question that, because I would assume that came up during his interview process, off season, the courtship. I believe that came up. But make no mistake about it, they literally had hats made that said attack. That was what Doug Peterson wanted in his defense. Yeah. And they are not.
Attack-style defense. There's no attacking anywhere.
No, they're not blitzing. There's no pass rush outside of 2 players. And that's a problem.
Yeah. What ride was Nielsen on? It's a Small World?
Yeah, oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Maybe that's the problem.
For what?
Maybe he was on. He was in
It's a
Disney
Small World.
when Doug called him to offer him the job. He was at Disney with his kids and his wife, and he was getting on It's a Small World, which now may have actually been an omen for one of the most disappointing Jaguar seasons in history.
All right, before we head to break, Taylor, we've got a giveaway.
We do. Lunch on the Ladies. Lunch for 2 to Chick-fil-A. Give us a call at 641-1010. Let's say caller number 2.
All right, we've got one segment to go on this Epic Cool Heating and Air Tuesday. Find them online at epichvacservice.com or give them a call 904-859-EPIC. Mention 1010XL for exclusive discounts. It is 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Helmets and Heels. This hour is brought to you by First Coast Honda Dealers.
Did you know you can charge the all-new Honda Electric Prologue in the same receptacle as your phone? You don't need these special charging stations at your home. Simply plug in your Honda or your phone. See your local Honda dealer now. We're electrified.
Mia O'Brien here, and folks, it is November 5th. And it's still hot outside, which means your AC better be blowing nice and cold on the inside. If for any reason it's not, my friends at Duck Duck Air Conditioning are here to help. Their qualified service techs can handle any type of cooling issue at your home or business. So don't deal with the fall heat outside and inside. Give Duck Duck AC a call today to schedule service, 904-862-6769, or online at duckduckac.com. Duck Duck AC is a licensed mechanical contractor.
Injured in an accident? Have mounting medical bills? Can't work? Don't worry. Zach's got your back. I'm Zach Von Rowan of Von Rowan Law. I will fight for the compensation that you deserve. Set up your free consultation at zachsgotyourback.com.
Mia here for MyBookie. Our listeners have been killing it in a year full of surprises. MyBookie is the one book that's got your back. No fluff, no second guessing, straight up action. Does your other sports book pay out when you push on a bet? MyBookie pays you back. And if you're new to the game and not sure where to start, we've got you covered. Step 1, use our promo code 1010XL. That will double your bankroll with a 100% deposit bonus right from the jump. Here's a pro tip to get you rolling. The NFL teams with powerhouse offensive lines are dominating the run game this year, and betting game total unders has been printing money. Stack that with MyBookie's risk-free Thursdays. Why wait? That's right there, a new risk-free odds boost every Thursday. To find the bet, click the Bet Boost tab and scroll down. If it hits, you win. If it doesn't, MyBookie refunds your money. Sign up now and get your double deposit bonus with MyBookie, the best sign-up bonus for Florida bettors. Bet anything, anytime, from anywhere with MyBookie.
Get off the ladder and put on the helmet with Gutter Helmet of North Florida. We are family owned and manufactured locally. Cleaning your gutters is a dangerous and dirty job. That's why with Gutter Helmet, you'll never clean your gutters again. Water goes in your gutters while trash and debris go on the ground. It won't collect like filters do. Gutter Helmet protects. Call now for 10% off and a free gutter cleaning and tune-up with your purchase of Gutter Helmet. Call 904-762-7779.
David Ammon here with Zero Res.
You know, Dad, I just love this time of year. It cools down, the holidays are coming on, and college football is a blast.
One of the things that I'm grateful for is our good customers. I have loved working for the good people of Jacksonville and want to say thank you.
Folks, the schedule is filling up fast. Book today and Zero Res will clean your carpets for only $49 per room. Plus, they'll give you 25% off your tile cleaning. Zero Res, spelled Florida backwards, it's the right way to clean.
Zero Res. Go inside the huddle with our QB, David Garrard.
Hey, I know if you give me time, baby, we can do whatever we want.
And get into the head of an NFL signal caller. Mondays from 10 to noon on Jaguars Today. Brought to you by WaterboyJax.com on 1010XL.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes. November is Veterans Month, and Awaken 180 is honoring all active duty veterans and spouses with 15% off our entire program, plus the same free support for life all clients receive. Celebrate Veterans Month with 50% off at Awaken180weightloss.com.
Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval Sub. The Duval comes with freshly sliced turkey ham, melted cheddar and habanero jack cheese, topped with crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, and a double portion of our secret sauce, all served on a fresh roll. Come by your local's Daly's Dash today to get your delicious Duval Sub. Daly's is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville. If I know anything about the fall, it's hunting season, it's cooler weather. People need to get off-road. What have you got to offer them?
We've got the full line of Honda ATVs, the Foreman, the Rancher. We've got the side-by-sides, the Pioneers, the Talons, everything you need to get off-road.
And you can trick them out with all sorts of extras?
If you name it, you want the loud stereo, you want the cool light bar, we got it.
All right, look online, cyclesofjacksonville.com, or head to the showroom on Atlantic near Regency.
If you're looking for custom metalwork, look no further than Superior Fence and Rail. Whether it's custom railing, shade structures, or custom entry gates, their expert team controls the turnkey process. From CAD design and raw metal to powder-coated finish and expert installation. When you choose Superior Fence and Rail for your custom metal project, you get a project that's, well, superior. So get off the fence and call Superior Fence and Rail today.
You've got a circle of friends, right? Well, how about a circle of beer? All your favorites like Bud Light, Bud Heavy, Mick Ultra, or Natty Light. It's all there in the cold case at Circle K. Probably one right around the corner right now calling your name. Slide on in to a Circle K.
This is Hayes Carline for First Florida Credit Union. I bank with First Florida Credit Union because I trust them. I can always count on them when it comes to the vast services they provide. First Florida Credit Union was voted Best Bank in the 2024 Best of Bold City Community Choice Awards, and it's easy to see why. I go to the branch off 210 in St. Johns County and the new Durbin location, but they have 10 branches in the Jacksonville area. You need to be banking with First Florida Credit Union. They're enriching people every day. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Opportunity Lender.
Jeff Lagerman here. Now that football season is here, make sure your ride can get to that tailgate or away game safely and dependably. You can trust the ASE certified professionals at any of the 27 independently owned Napa Auto Care Centers and the quality Napa parts they use. Napa Auto Care Centers can handle everything: oil changes, air conditioning, brakes, engines, transmissions, and more. Napa Auto Care offers a nationwide 24-month, 24,000-mile peace-of-mind warranty on those repairs. Find a Napa Auto Care Center near you. JacksNapaAutoCareGroup.com.
This is Dr. Kevin Kaplan, head team physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jags, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
Jaguars analyst Jeff Lagerman on the final play for the Jaguars against the Eagles, where Trevor Lawrence was intercepted in the end zone on a pass intended for Dearness Johnson.
Do anything but throw a 50-50 ball in that situation. If you're going to throw a 50-50 ball, it's got to be to Brian Thomas Jr., it's last-second desperation, it's Justin Jefferson, it's Jamar Chase. I mean, you got to throw it to a dude. I mean, you can't throw it to a running back. I mean, that's not his specialty, is catching 50-50 balls. I think that if they could have that one back, they obviously would make a different call.
Jeff Lagerman on Jaguars Today. I'm Andrew Gibson with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars Update.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the cool down from the cool guys at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Fast, reliable, and honest service since '87.
In case you missed it, we let off this fine Tuesday, this elite, some might even say, Tuesday right here.
Epic.
Epic, even better. Epic. Epic. That's the real word we're looking for. Epic Cool Heating and Air Tuesday. By noting that Florida is a college basketball state, folks. In case you missed it, not only did the Gators get the best of USF in one of the better games of opening night in college basketball for the 2024-2025 season right here in the River City, UNF takes down South Carolina up in Columbia. And, of course, JU also winners here closer to home at Swisher Gymnasium over Trinity Baptist. I want to run through a couple other big scores, notable names, numbers, headlines, what you need to know as college basketball season gets going just 24 hours in. The marquee game of the slate, ladies, was buried on the TV programming calendar. Number 6 Gonzaga, number 8 Baylor. They did not tip off until 11:30 p.m. Eastern time.
I'm assuming the game was in Washington?
It was.
Okay.
They wanted to wait until after Monday Night Football, so the game could be
Smart.
on ESPN. Respect
So people could
to
be
that.
asleep.
Right, exactly. Great lead-in, but ultimately, especially because this one became a snooze fest, as Gonzaga literally runs Baylor out of their own gym, 101-63. This Baylor team that Scott Drew has put together has a ton of transfers from Jeremy Roach from Duke, Norchad Omier locally from Miami, now coming to Waco, Texas. So I think it's a team that's still trying to find itself because there are so many transfers and so many pieces. But certainly Gonzaga, who returned 75% of their scoring outfit from last year, you're going to want to look out for Mark Few and company. Yes, Cooper Flagg made his very highly anticipated debut in what they called the main event. If you didn't know, the number 1 recruit in the country, the generational prospect, of course now a member of the Duke Blue Devils, is from the state of Maine. And so it was arranged that Duke's home opener and their season opener would be against Maine. Duke, of course, got the win 96-62. But yes, Cooper Flagg is the prince that was promised when it comes to college basketball in this game. He had 18 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. He does a little bit of everything. And so the hope for us college basketball fans is that it will bring people and eyeballs back to the sport.
Duke was the favorite I saw, but now it's UConn.
Yes.
Even though we barely are into the season.
And but also UConn's the 2-time defending champion, and they won with 2 completely different rosters. No offense to Florida fans, but this is not the 06-07 back-to-back title team where most of that group ran it back. This was a completely different outfit.
Taken.
Yeah, no, it's just the reality of college basketball in this day and age. And so what Dan Hurley did is so difficult to do, and I think that people sleeping on him, yes, are relying on regression to the mean and the odds of lightning striking a third time in the same place, but at this juncture, I would be afraid to bet against him.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I'm going to say we mentioned it earlier, but it's a big day for a lot of different reasons. So go vote, number 1. Number 2, we have the college football playoff rankings coming out tonight, and we also have, obviously, the trade deadline coming up at 4 p.m., so a lot of different news to follow along with on this Tuesday, November 5th. And obviously
certain playoff rankings come out tonight.
Yeah. And so I think that there's obviously one bigger one when it comes to our country as a whole. But I do think for us who are football lovers, this day in general, when it comes to the college football ranking, and then obviously the trade deadline too, we're already getting things coming in with some of these names. And so it's a interesting Tuesday for beginning of November.
Yeah,
random
very
Tuesday.
newsworthy, that's for sure. We've always said we need multiple TVs to watch all the sports at once, right? You need multiple TVs tonight, especially, that you can keep up with everything going on. I'll say something that we didn't get to yesterday when it came to the Jaguars-Eagles game, but certainly it's circulated everywhere since the moment it happened. Saquon Barkley jumping backwards over Jarian Jones. I understand that it's this elite level type of play. Not many people can do that as athletes. He didn't even get that far, though. Like, it's not, yes, it was this amazing move in the moment, but it's not like he then ran it for a touchdown. Like, yes, he jumps over Jarian. That sucks to be Jarian in that moment.
He also definitely got hurt and had to take a couple plays
Correct.
off
Yeah.
after, or at least at the very least was sore.
And I know Jalen Hurts was laughing after it and all that stuff, and everybody wants to talk about just the sheer athleticism. Like I said, I get all that. But it wasn't a moment that I felt like that led to the Eagles winning that football game.
Yeah, but also I think that moment, that was like the 4th move of that thing. Like he twirled, he juked somebody, then he twirled, then he spun around, then he hurdled. So it was like the whole thing.
Sounds like a dance
So he
move.
didn't get a ton after that, but he was just like juking the entire Jaguars defense.
I would also invite you.
And now Nike has it as one of their
posters.
Of course,
I would invite you to go back in time to the 2017 college football season, week 3, Kinnick Stadium, when Saquon Barkley hurdled Josie Jewell. And if NIL existed then, that would also be a Nike poster. This is far from the first time that an iconic Saquon picture has been taken and run with. But yes, to your point, Lauren, it wasn't even a play of consequence outside of the fact that it was another third down conversion for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, and Taylor read the stat a little bit ago as far as the third and 15 or more. The Jaguars are the worst in all of the NFL. There have been 9 that have been completed this season, and the Jaguars defense has accounted for 4 of those.
I do want to note, we already had the say something nice about Aiden Hutchinson challenge, say something nice about the Florida State Seminoles. As soon as I started rattling off those college basketball scores, multiple Noles on the text line Design by Lifetime Enclosures came out of the woodwork to say, hey, make sure you give us love. 74-62 winners over Northern Kentucky, who was in the NCAA tournament not too long ago, so I will give you your flowers, Florida State. I certainly think that a guy by the name of Jameer Watkins could end up being an all-ACC performer by season's end. He's an absolute bucket. Talk about a guy who can just go and get you points with an 8 for 17 mark from the floor last night.
That's totally a revamped roster.
Oh, yeah. I mean, welcome to college basketball. But, yes, lots of new faces. A lot of the old faces are now in Coral Gables playing for Coach L and Jim Larinaga. But, yes, Florida State's basketball team now has as many wins as Florida State's football team. Oh. Thank you, Noles fans. We appreciate you, Heeligans.
I sat behind the guy last night at the USF Florida men's basketball game, and I was watching him take picture after picture of Olivier Roux, the 7'9" cat, and just text it to all of his friends. Like he was like, just look at this guy. You won't believe this. And literally just like in all the pregame warmups, which before we say hello to XL Primetime, I did want to mention this. Every player last night for both Florida and USF, their pregame shirts paid tribute to USF's men's basketball coach who had passed away recently.
They all had the Abdur Rahim and then their number.
Yeah, I thought that was great. And they did do a moment of silence a little bit before, maybe about 10 minutes or so before tip-off.
I love moments like that. Those are the little things that I just like as a little extra, like I said, beyond the sport type of stuff. But when you were just talking about the text, he was sending that picture of the 7'9" guy to all his friends. I just remembered I saw this video over the weekend, and it was a Giants fan, like this old grandpa, and he was texting, and you know their words are kind of big on their phone.
Oh yes, the font in front of me was quite large. That's how I could read it.
So their font was so big, and so the guy behind him like was filming, and the grandpa was texting, and he was like, "I'm at the Giants game. This is terrible. Why do I keep doing this to myself?"
I will say, just as a little bit, not of a warning, but just as a more of like a PSA, if you are someone that has the very large font, and I understand we all have different eye issues, or some people have worse eyes than others. I get all that. But like people around you can read your text. So if you are going to have the very large font, be sure that you're not just openly showing
or when your brightness is turned all the way up.
Or that, like, I know there are ways to, just be a little bit more careful. Like keep your cards closer to your vest is the saying when it comes to poker and things like that. Because I could read literally everything this man was texting.
Yeah, that's how this was. The guy was recording and like the whole, not even zoomed in, just like normal.
Oh, yeah, no.
You could read the whole text. I was like, this poor guy was going through trauma.
We will leave you with a little bit of football. In case you missed it, we detailed some of the moves, the very latest moves at the NFL trade deadline over the last 2 hours. That, of course, included Marshawn Lattimore being dealt to the Washington Commanders from the New Orleans Saints. And as Greg Rosenthal of NFL Network points out, the Saints being willing to eat $31 million in 2025 dead cap to deal one of their best players is a sign they are finally ready to swallow their medicine and rebuild. And that goes back to the conversation we had yesterday. There will be a head coaching vacancy filled in New Orleans. Who is willing to sign up for that cap situation? God bless them if they do. And, of course, the question of will Mickey Loomis be leading said rebuild is going to be fascinating to see.
Do you think Bill Belichick, if that's his only opportunity, do you think he would step in? If that's the only
think he would want it?
Situation that he's given, maybe.
He wants the win record. He's going somewhere that, at the very least, there are pieces and he can win now. I don't believe there are enough pieces in New Orleans.
But if that's the only opportunity to get any wins, you never know. All right, let's say hello to XL Primetime.
Now, the 2-minute drill, brought to you by Injury Care Centers. Discover BioTarget Regenerative Therapy, a safer drug-free solution for lasting pain relief. Visit GoBioTarget.com.
Matt O'Brien.
Oh, shorter than me right now.
I just said Matt O'Brien because Matt just said to us off the air that he's shorter than Mia O'Brien right now because he's in the chair that sinks. Matt Hayes is with us.
Hello, ladies.
Matt, how are you?
Well, how are you? Good to have you back.
Much better, thank you.
Good.
Thank you, yeah.
Matt, I need to talk about this because I texted you last week about it, and we had a conversation earlier. Ashton Genty, Caleb Johnson. What are your thoughts on the two? Why is Caleb not being talked about the way Genty is?
Love them both. Love them both. I think Genty is more, what's the best way of saying this? Twitchy. You know, guys like scouts like to say twitchy. He's more of a, the plyometric type explosion type moves. I love them both. I think they're both going to be really good pros. But again, you're talking about running backs, and I don't know how high either one of them will go in the draft. Both of them may not even go in the first round.
You want to know who else wasn't considered twitchy coming out of college despite winning the Heisman?
Who's that?
The odds-on favorite for offensive MVP this year. Derrick Henry.
Well, yeah, he was considered just a grown man.
But he still felt
a grown man in high school.
But to your point, he had 3 offers to play running back coming out of Yulee High School, and he fell to the second round of the NFL draft.
Yeah. I don't know that Caleb's a guy that's going to run you over. And Genty's Genty's not going to run you over.
Caleb Johnson, though, is a taller running back, and that's what I think is fascinating. And I don't know where the story ends, but what I can tell you is that he's a bigger-bodied running back than most you see out there.
Yeah, I would agree
these
with that.
days.
I also think, and not that, shame Mia and her Iowa connections, but I also think it's because of Iowa.
Yeah.
He's on an offense that still, to this day, has not figured out the pass game. I don't know why. I don't know how. But at some point, they've got to, and it's probably not going to happen until after Kirk Ferentz retires. Then they'll magically figure out the pass game. But now it's just all,
There's something about that region. The Bears haven't figured it out either.
It's so boring what they do, and I think that's part of it. I really do.
Matt, you didn't get to weigh in on the cocktail party, but would you have called a pass play with under 4 minutes remaining in your third-string quarterback
it's so
who's
frustrating.
really never taken
It's so frustrating watching that team. Because
So
I'll
you're
tell you
still
why.
You're still out on Billy.
Let me tell you why, okay?
Okay, I'm sitting back. I'm ready to listen.
Biggest play of that game was the third and 8 throw from Carson Beck that got 35 to Smith.
Right.
That was the biggest play of the game. He got Kamani McLean turned around, made a nice throw. That's it. Because if they go out and they don't complete that pass, and Florida gets back in the field, and they don't run the ball 10 straight times after going 95 yards on them and running all over that defense, they had them exactly where they wanted them. So you give up the score. You get on the field. There's more than 4 minutes to go.
Yep.
First down at your own, 17 they're at? Run the ball!
Thank you.
Run the ball.
I'm wondering if it's something in the water because I feel like that's a problem afflicting the franchise in this town
too. He runs a bootleg with a walk-on freshman quarterback who didn't play at Yale last year. He was just a guy.
Yeah.
Rolls him out and tells the kid to make a play against one of the best, if not the best, defenses in college football. Brilliant coaching. Brilliant. And by the way, he is your play caller. He's the quarterback's coach. He's the offensive coordinator. He's the play caller.
Will he be the head coach, the offensive coordinator, and the play caller next year?
I don't know because
time will tell.
Maybe DJ Lagway is going to magically heal. Who knows? If he does, honestly,
there's
if
a
he
tightrope
does,
surgery in Alabama. There may be a hamstring magical surgery. All right,
if
Matt.
he does, they could beat LSU and FSU. Let's just
Okay,
what's coming up?
Let's speak that. Okay, manifest. I like that.
What's coming up, Matt?
We might even talk about that. No, we're gonna talk about college football. And we're gonna talk about the Jags, obviously, and our coaches here. We're so happy to have Dave Campbell back.
All right, sounds good. Thanks so much.
Thanks, ladies.
That's going to do it for us today. For Mia O'Brien, for Taylor Dahl, for RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. These heels are made for talking. We will talk to you tomorrow, but don't go anywhere. XL Primetime is next.